Today, I bring you back to the rhetoric behind the violence or the demonstrators, protesters, insurgents, etc., and the Chicago mayor's response to the federal agents potentially coming to the city of Chicago, and a little bit more action in the streets around the country. Much more coming up. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this Black Spring segment, the continuation of the Black Spring segment from earlier. Thank you so much if you are able to join me again. And shout out to the loyal subscribers as well as the patrons. I'd like to shout out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Angels Army, Little Miss Goth, Gary L. Youngkees Jr., as well as shout out to Cold War Jesus. Thank you so much for all that you do, and welcome back to Chrysler Imperial H. How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming back on this. And that took a little bit longer than I thought, but it was all good. It's all for the good of the channel. So working behind the scenes a little bit here, but I really appreciate you guys for coming in and coming back on this segment. So let's see, we kind of rounded out the last segment we were talking about a bit of a struggle over governing or city officials or their response to the violence in Chicago and the possibility of the federal agencies, descending on the city. So I'm going to take you to a bit of an interview that kind of gives you some perspective on, well, of course, it's a packaged segment courtesy of the network. I guess it's CBS, I believe. So I'll bring you that, and you'll get to see a little bit of Lightfoot and her convictions, and then we'll bring you into the now. And because it seems like minute after minute, there's a story there all the time, but unfortunately, it doesn't get brought to the mainstream or to even many platforms. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. Hi, Keith the Faith. How are you doing on this Wednesday? I don't want to get the wrong date. Nice to see you. I've had a chance to. Yes, you are. Chrysler Imperial H. Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much for all you do. A double shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm trying to do these things from memory. So shout out to loyal subscribers as well as the patrons. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, the Angel Munez variety show, which Angel has changed to Angel's Army, and Little Miss Goth, and let's see, I think I'm missing. So Gary L. Youngkees Jr. So I'm doing these from memory. So no, Chrysler is the gold standard around here. So yeah, never forgetting you. Just trying to do things, a little brain fog for my Wednesday afternoon. But with that said, I'm going to take you guys to this clip. So we're going to look a little bit at Lori Lightfoot so you can see her conversations. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this afternoon on the continuation of this Black Spring segment. So I'm going to be taking you there. Hope you guys are doing well in the stream. Hope you guys are doing really well. And I'm actually going to be dropping a couple of links, but I'll go ahead and take you to this coverage. And thank you guys so much. Shout out to Cold War Jesus. And Keith the Faith. Nice to see you as always. He's Beetlejuice. Yeah, she's interesting character there. So I'm going to take you guys to that. And thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you guys for coming back on this segment.
This city criticized by the president on Twitter when it comes to gun violence?
Of course.
How do you work with a president who says he wants to work with you, but has definitely gone on his Twitter account and criticized Chicago and the gun violence?
What the hell is going on in Chicago?
Well, look, my values are not his values on a range of different issues. But I think that I have an obligation to the residents of the city, particularly the taxpayers, to do everything I can to make sure that we get our fair share of dollars from Washington, D.C.
Onward! Onward!
Lightfoot rose to political prominence after chairing a police accountability task force in the wake of the deadly 2014 police shooting of teenager Laquan McDonald.
16 shots and a cover-up!
It led to citywide protests, national anger, and a murder conviction against the officer who shot him.
We have been embarked on what I would call a proactive strategy that looks at our gun violence as a public health crisis, which is what it is. That means we look at the root causes of the violence. That means we invest in neighborhoods. We re-stitch together our broken social safety
But
net.
what does invest in neighborhoods mean? What does that look like?
It means that we bring resources to communities so that they can grow, that we work on providing wraparound services and job training in the neighborhoods that are under siege and economically distressed.
You talked a lot about this coming down to communities trusting police and the police also trusting the communities.
Right.
How do you bridge that gap?
Police can't be successful if they're not viewed as legitimate by the community, and the community will not be safe if the police are not engaged in a respectful constitutional partnership with the community. And the only way to do it is person by person. There's no magic solution.
She says her biggest fear is seeing children who feel, quote, penned down by gun violence. But she is extremely optimistic, saying she hopes to see a decrease in gun violence as early as the summer. And it wasn't just a historic day for Lightfoot. For the first time in Chicago's history, women of color now hold 3 city-wide elected offices, as you can see right there.
It's pretty. She came in.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for once again joining me again on the second wave of Black Spring with Autumn. So there you have. I mean, to me, Lightfoot is she's pretty classic left. You know, I think that the left has parlayed all of their isms and utopias in terms of dealing with communities and violence. They parlayed it into, oh well, we'll just hire socioeconomic directors to handle the violence and to deal with the issues in the community, kind of like the school districts. You know, if they don't want to just handle the problem or deal with the crime alone, they want to package it into something that they're not going to get a concrete answer. They're not going to do that. There you have all the identity politics, all the handles. You know, you got triple protected there. You're black, you're female, you're lesbian. You know, you got all your social protections coming right out. You know, that's just the way everything's packaged. It's not hard to tell, but I don't see real solutions. Just like like what Seattle's mayor, it's summer of love. You don't see that. Yeah, she's just a lot of a word salad, and then you end up with what? Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Cold War Jesus. And yeah, she did mention the taxpayers' money, and it's interesting what is going on with the taxpayer money? If your streets aren't better, if you haven't done anything, or you didn't come in with a plan to use these people's tax money better to protect them, the public safety is a disaster. So there's that. I just want to give you a little bit of landscape on that, but we'll go on. We'll come up to the front of the heap, because it just keeps piling on. There's something going on there all the time. Yet she's rejecting, she seems to be rejecting any type of assistance. But there's a reason for that. It's not just, I mean, I don't think politically there is, but it's more, it's not a direct political expedient that she's not doing anything. That's not the tactic here. I think it's something else. So I'm going to take you to another clip here, because it seems like she's been of course, she's always at odds or tweeting back and forth, but then she's also apparently having issues with the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, David Brown. And so we'll go on to that. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Keith the Face says all they care about is color. Now things will get worse because of a quota hiring and virtue signaling. Thank you so much for sharing that. Cold War says she talks about the Fed money, but not the deaths of her people, just calls it violence. Alien Believers says thinks she's working with members of the NWO. Yeah, she made a statement about that. She did make a statement about her developing, creating agencies and those that have pledged allegiance to NWO. So there you go. All right, so I'll take you on to another clip. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. You guys are doing well. I'm going to bring you one more clip on that, and then we'll do something. We're going to hear another narrative, if you will, hear from some other people. And it kind of goes back to does everybody agree with defunding the police? No. But they'll never cover that. They'll never cover it. Okay, so here we have another source for you. This comes from the heraldreview.com. The mayor says Chicago expects an influx of federal agents to help fight violence, but we do not welcome dictatorship. So it's all about dictatorship, right? So we'll bring you that. Hope everybody's doing well in the stream. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you this one, because this one has some audio for you. Sorry, I'm just a little bit delayed coming back here. It's kind of coming back a little bit, not totally all over the place, but enough. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'm going to bring you the clip right now.
While we all understand that having additional federal resources can be a value add, they're not a value add if they're nameless agents riding around in vans, pulling people off the street, depriving them of their constitutional rights. That is not what a democracy looks like. And we are not going to have that in the city of Chicago. Unfortunately, we can't put anything past the Trump administration. I'm hopeful that they will not be foolish enough to bring that kind of nonsense to Chicago, but I'm also not naive, and we're going to be diligent and we're going to be ready. And if we need to stop them, we are going to. There are some things that the federal government is uniquely qualified to do, starting with passing common sense gun legislation. If he wanted to do that, that would make a measurable difference in the violence fight here in Chicago and the cities across the country. That's what partnership would look like. He's chosen not to do that and instead vilify Chicago, make us a punching bag. We're not having it.
He needs to.
All right. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there you go. There you go. Common sense gun laws. That's it, right? So there's the con, right? You're not going to restore any order or save any lives, but you're really concerned about common sense gun laws. So there again, this is going to be part of your UN agenda, in which the peace, they're going to start driving this this peace component, and that also includes disarming America. That includes your Second Amendment right. So we've talked about what 5717, in which that's your extreme gun laws. Your extreme gun laws that's already passed, I think, in the House. It's already on the table, which don't think it'll go anywhere, but I'm saying those are their ideas. Those are their ideas on gun laws. So all of this is going to feed into their narrative on enforcing the gun laws. And I think that's her reason for not, she's saying that it's dictator-like for federal agents to appear there, and this whole narrative about them being unmarked and, just trying to turn this into the tyranny narrative, okay, is what she's got to keep that up. Same thing with Ted Wheeler. They're all doing the same parlor tricks, right? Just a different day, I mean, even in her, I can share the tweet. Her tweet says, "Under no circumstances will I allow Donald Trump's troops to come to Chicago and terrorize our residents." Well, let's just see how that works out. I'm not really sure. See, I'm going to give you Mark Long. I'll bring you a clip here. And also we'll have a look at, these protesters are so peaceful, you can't even believe, what are they talking about? They're just attacking citizens. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Cold War Jesus. So let's take you right on over. Thank you guys so much for coming back. He says, outrageous. Yes, 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 it is.
I've seen news reporting after news reporting, tweet after tweet saying, quote, unidentified, masked stormtroopers. Again, I want to foot stomp what the secretary said. It is offensive to refer to these dedicated men and women that are out there as law enforcement professionals to make that reference. It is disgusting. And it's also a lie. As we can see, we've shown you time and time again. So you saw the markings that Deputy Director Klein put out. I wanted to blow that up to show you. Our BORTAC agents, for example, this is the identification every single one of them has on their uniform. And this is a baseline. I wanted to bring a real live version. This is what they're wearing. This is a real live version of what they're wearing. And this is a baseline of all the different identifications that they have. You see clearly marked that they are part of the Customs and Border Protection. The second line of marking is it shows the component within CBP that they're associated with. And this instant, Border Patrol. Clearly police. It's marked on the front and the back, clearly, every single agent. In addition to that, they have a unique identifier. Deputy Director Klein said he doesn't have his officers wear name tags because they're being doxxed. That's exactly right. That's another thing that's absolutely disgusting. So they're not only jeopardizing the lives of the agents, but they're also jeopardizing the lives of their families as they're putting out their home information and they're suggesting that individuals go to their homes. So yes, I, as the acting commissioner, have authorized and supported removing their names from their uniform. Instead, what we have, though, is a personal identifier. So we have that, so we can identify, and we have each identifier associated with a specific name. So we have all that information internally, and we'll share that with the appropriate entities when it's necessary. Our SRT teams, it's the same thing, right? Clearly identified, different color uniform, clearly identified. So I hope that that puts to rest the lies and the false rumors about that they're not properly marked. The last thing that I'll mention about this as well is there's been some additional information out there about how they identify themselves. You will find in each and every instance when we approach somebody who we believe, who we have probable cause, who has committed a federal crime, we do identify ourselves as either police or a federal agent. That's the truth. They come there each and every night. They, with intent, arm themselves with a barrage of weapons with the intent to destroy federal property and seriously injure federal law enforcement officers. Those are the individuals that we're talking about. So when you see a CBP BORTAC agent or a SRT officer that is out there, they are doing so in that very targeted fashion to go after somebody that has committed a federal crime. And that very narrow target approach, what I'm talking about specifically, are those who have actually intentionally harmed a federal officer. So, and they're doing so while these agents and officers are protecting the federal property. So we are, in that case, we will make a targeted arrest based on probable cause. And that includes, as the secretary said, even if that subject goes off the property. It just makes common sense. We're not going to allow somebody to walk up to the federal property, assault a federal officer or agent, and because then they walk off federal property, then we're going to say, oh, we can't go arrest you. Well, that doesn't make sense. Of course, we're going to arrest you, and we have the authority to make that arrest, and we will continue to do that. So what this means is we're not patrolling the streets of Portland, has been falsely reported multiple times in the past few days. I'd like to address two other persistent questions that come up. First, unmarked vehicles. Look, I've been in law enforcement for almost 3 decades. The use of unmarked vehicles is a standard procedure, a standard practice among every local, state, and federal law enforcement agency in this country, actually in the world. It's nothing new. But it's especially important under these circumstances. Every one of us known, every one of us in the past few weeks has seen, what have they been doing? I call these individuals criminals, not the peaceful protesters, but the individuals, again, with intent that are going to go out and actually target marked vehicles. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen marked patrol vehicles in the last few weeks among a variety of cities through this country on fire. We all know about the story in New York where an incendiary device was actually thrown inside a marked vehicle while there were uniformed officers inside the vehicle. So yeah, I think not only is it a common practice among law enforcement, but also in these circumstances, it makes sense to use an unmarked vehicle, not only first and foremost for the protection of the officers and agents doing their job to protect federal property and arresting criminals, but also for the protection of the public.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into this segment. So there you had the CBP commissioner giving you an explanation and giving you the actual uniform in which these officers are appearing in the streets. And it's, but it's just part of the narrative. They have to create a tyrannical narrative, and they have to use terms like unmarked vehicles and Gestapo and paramilitaries. They've got to do that. They've got to do that to keep up the narrative on Trump being a dictator. Let's see. Do I do too much? Am I too extra? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but thanks so much for coming in. I don't think so. I'm not sure if that was for me or not, but thanks so much for that. But there again, it kind of blows, Lightfoot and her narrative out of the water there. But who knows? Will it ever reach? Will it ever reach mainstream? I doubt it. They'll just keep parroting the same talking points. And I'm going to take you to another clip in which there was a shooting, apparently 14 injured in Chicago during a funeral. So I'm going to bring you that, and that's going to come from a Laura Ingraham coverage on that. So I would think somebody's not quite dealing in reality, at least. I mean, maybe she wants to send, some troopers, send a set of paratroopers, that are trained in, psychology or something. And I'm not sure what goes on inside her mind. Not sure about that. But thank you guys so much for coming on, and thank you for those of you who have done your diligence on the housekeeping and hit that like button or the unlike button. And just FYI, for those of you who are just coming in, the opening story was on Margaret Sanger being canceled, essentially canceled. And I assert that they're going to, her name's being removed from the headquarters in New York, as well as who knows if any of her awards are going to be removed or Smithsonian changes are going to occur. But I would imagine that they're going to keep trying to euphemize death in these places, in this whole industry. And I expect they're going to use a person of color when if they ever put any representation up there. It's going to be somebody that they can use to sell their agenda, because there again, access to abortion is not only a huge industry, but it's also, they're trying to get that to be more of a global, it's a part of the global agenda as well, is to make abortion easily and readily available. So there you go. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. I appreciate you guys for coming in.
Police said there was some kind of planned ambush outside the funeral home where a memorial service was going on inside for a homicide victim. At the end of last week in Chicago, murders were up 51%, shootings were up 44%, 47% actually. And despite those staggering numbers, Mayor Lori Lightfoot has presided over a city that has turned into the Wild West. Now, let me make this as clear as I can make it tonight. It's open season on the citizens of Chicago, and the mayor cannot be bothered to accept real federal help. You know why? Because of her seething hatred for Donald Trump. That is outweighing her concern for the citizens that she is supposed to be serving. Now, the head of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police was here tonight to react to Mayor Lori Lightfoot's refusal to accept federal help, but will instead react to this story. John Canizera joins me now exclusively. John, are you as unhinged as Mayor Lightfoot says you are? See, she's putting it on you, Mr. Canizera. That's what she's doing, putting it on you. And maybe it's Fox or it's Trump or everyone but looking in the mirror and also going after the criminals.
Well, good evening, Laura. Thanks for having me. First of all, the mayor likes to use the word unhinged. The ironic part is that the mayor became unhinged. I wish I could show you the text messages that she sent me over the weekend as soon as she found out that I had sent the request to President Trump. I mean, she was the one who became totally unhinged, unprofessional, childish. It was really pathetic for a leader of a city.
Well, right now we have carnage as far as the eye can see. We don't know what will happen. We certainly hope we don't have deaths out of these injuries. But it looked pretty wild out there in the scene that they were showing. This is outside of a funeral home. So if you're going to shoot outside of a funeral home where there was some signage about the funeral they had on the street, and apparently there was some police presence somewhere on the scene, you've gotten really bold, haven't you, John? You're pretty bold at that point as a criminal. You're not worried.
Well, you know, like Sean's guest just said, the bold is there because they know there's no consequences. The justice system in Cook County is totally broken, all the way from the President Preckwinkle to Kim Fox, the prosecutor, to Tom Dart, the sheriff, to Tim Evans, the chief judge. They have no idea what real justice is. And that's basically the bloodbath in the street is the result.
Well, Lori Lightfoot, just to bring people into this back and forth, to put it politely, John, between you and Lightfoot, this is what she said. Everyone watch.
We've got an unhinged leader of the Fraternal Order of Police who is craven and trying to generate attention. This is a dangerous road for us to go down. We're not going to have people that don't know our streets engaging in clearly unconstitutional conduct, operating at will in our city. That is chaos. That is lawlessness.
That's chaos. What we're seeing tonight wasn't chaos, but you're wanting federal help and, actual assistance is chaos. This woman doesn't know her own city. Okay, it's a travesty. I thought I was mad about other things tonight, given what's going on in this country. But this is an outrage. It's a great American city. It's being disserved by her. She's a radical. They need to toss her out of office. John, go ahead.
She's literally running the Titanic into an iceberg intentionally. 56 rounds fired, I'm told, and 17 people shot tonight at a funeral where there was police, obviously special attention because of the gang victim that was already being waked at the funeral home. You know, the irony about her not knowing the city streets and the federal officers, and this isn't a knock on Superintendent Brown, because I really like Superintendent Brown, but she just hired an outsider who didn't know the city, who didn't know the streets. So what's the difference? Again, she's a big hypocrite. She has a bit of a Napoleon complex. If you don't agree with her, heaven forbid.
Well, funeral attendees, I understand, returned fire on the vehicle. So these were all gangbangers, right? I mean, this is, if you had to just sum it up and for us, I mean, you conjecture at this point, we need to know more. But people are firing on each other. We called it the Wild West. This is a killing field in Chicago. And we're complaining about Trump. Are you kidding me? Talk about blame shifting, putting it on you and the Fraternal Order of Police or the cops on the beat. What the heck are the cops supposed to do when they have no support from City Hall? What are they supposed to do?
You highlighted the obviously increase in shootings and murders, but Superintendent Brown basically said yesterday that the police department has recovered 5,400 guns so far this year off the streets of Chicago. Now, as he properly highlighted, that's 5,400 deadly encounters that the men and women of the police department have dealt with over the first 6 months of this year, and not a single person, well, I shouldn't say not a single person. I think there's only been 3 shootings that resulted in death. But my point is, how many more guns or how many more murders would occur if those guns weren't taken off the street? And more importantly, there's a lot of people that were arrested with those guns that were immediately let back out on the street again. And it goes right back to Kim Fox and the broken county jail system.
This is the revolving door of so-called criminal justice reform. Someone's arrested on a Monday, they're released on Tuesday morning, they get their criminal defender, their public defender, and we're crying about how unfair the system is. And I just want to, and if everyone's just joining us tonight, there was a disturbing scene in Chicago a few hours ago at a funeral where we had 14 people shot, many in the hospital. People were returning fire from the funeral to the cars that were going off in different directions, apparently that were responsible for the shootings, coming from multiple directions, the reports we're getting tonight, John. And at the same time as this is happening tonight, we have utter lawlessness in another great American city of Portland, Oregon. And we have people in Portland, Oregon who are telling the media not to cover it, because that tells a very distorted story, and people are covering it because they want to hurt people politically. No, we want to cover it because we want to save lives, property, and livelihoods. What will happen if AOC and the gang get their way with Biden and the whole crowd and defund the police, because this is defund and dismantle the police movements across this country. John, is tonight's scene going to be repeated across urban America?
Well, I don't know about urban America, but Chicago's pretty unique to anywhere else in the country. I've said it time and time again that we're approximately, New York is 2.5 times the size population-wise to Chicago, but we have 40% more murders than the whole city of New York. Just let that sink in. I mean, there is a lawless mindness set in this city where, they just do whatever they want because there is no repercussion. There is no accountability. This is piggybacking on Friday night's scene where there was a large group of officers trying to protect a Christopher Columbus statue that was being attempted to be pulled down. 52 officers were injured in that melee, and they want to pretend like this was just a handful of anarchists that embedded themselves in this protest. The protesters knew that this was going to happen. They protected these people until they went down. And we talk about accountability, lastly, just to this point. So accountability, they cry that police officers don't speak out, the thin blue line. They protect bad behavior. What about all those good protesters who stood there and watched these anarchists hurl fireworks, frozen water, bricks at officers and did nothing? They did nothing.
I'm tired of the line that they're all the good protesters. You shouldn't be out throwing stuff at police or standing by other people who are throwing stuff at police, okay? Shouldn't be pulling down statues. They're not your property. If you want to take down a statue, go the legal way and petition your local alderman and do it that way. Don't put ropes around statues and pull them down, okay? That's thuggish behavior, and we're tolerating it in Chicago and all across this country. It's a broken windows theory. It's a broken
Thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there again, you have, I guess you have officials from Chicago talking about just the interactions and just kind of the culture in the streets. Apparently it's a very tough situation, I would imagine, for the citizens that live there. But I'm sure that they are taking as much money as they can from the government, but they won't take any assistance to secure or to make those streets safer for the citizens there. But she's worried about dictators, and she's worried about the Constitution. Wow, it's pretty amazing. But shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Keith the Faith. This is a very frustrating thing to watch. And so yeah, no offense taken here. No, none from me. Shout out to Cold War Jesus, Alien Believers. Let's see, Crazy Chick Sheena, Alien Believers. Michael Hames, shout out to you. And let's see, am I missing somebody else here? Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to you. But yeah, this was a bit of a continuation from the other stream from earlier. So I would suggest that you guys just keep an eye on things, because there's tons of things that are going to come out. But I'm also going to share one more clip on, this is coming from the whole defund the police, and you have some commentary here from people that actually live in communities that maybe they don't own guns. Whatever their reasons are, that's what they are. So I'm going to share that with you guys. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to the loyal patrons, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, Definition of Anarchy, Gary L. Young Keys Jr., Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, and shout out to Cold War Jesus and Angels Army. Arizona. That's for you, Keith the Faith. I had a blowout there about 7-8 years ago. But it's a beautiful place. It's nothing like a good road trip. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys some more comments there. some comments from people from the community, from the Black community, that don't support defunding the police. Shout out to everybody in the stream. This will be pretty brief, but I thought no less it'll be interesting or nice to hear.
Defunding the police, getting rid of the police. Do you support that?
Get rid of the police. They need more police everywhere. I would just personally like to see the city even enforce more police around here. They blame the police when they kill them, but when it's black on black crime, then where's all the movement there? Where's the riots? We can't keep blaming it on the white man, the police, or whatever. That stuff starts with them. We need more police out on the street. We really do.
It's about these police precincts that have tanks, that have military weaponry, that people ask, why does a local police precinct have this in the first place?
Military type people might need to come and sit on these corners and come and get and be active in the community. It might have to be past the police.
Yeah, don't defund the police.
Defunding the police, getting rid of the police. Do you support?
All right, shout out to everybody in the stream. So there again, you got people that actually live in communities that have spoken out before about how they feel about defunding the police. But I guess we'll see where that winds up. I don't think that's going to work, without a doubt. And I think they're losing steam on that. But they'll defund it, and then you're going to get something worse. What you're going to get. But when the pendulum swings back, you might get even a centralized or a nationalized police, because they want to make police accountable on the national level, at least according to was it Hank Johnson, at least according to him. So yeah, so that's giving you a little perspective there. But I'm probably going to round out this particular stream in about 10 minutes. Shout out to everybody that's here. Old Head Deuce. Shout out to you. Shout out to Keith the Faith. It's only 103. Wow. Nice, but warm. Let's see. Shout out to Alien Believers. What else do we have? I know we had Crazy Chick Sheena here. Shout out to Cold War Jesus. And let's see, at least one more. Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to you, Michael Hames. Crazy Chick Sheena. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys for coming back. But you can kind of see the. Let me close out a couple of things here. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys for coming back on this segment. So I'm just going to give you this last little clip. We actually have some commentary from Lightfoot on the rising violence after the funeral shooting. So, it just kind of never ends. I mean, what is it like? Are we like Eastern Europe? It's just the more you look around, the place looks less like, the unrest and the violence is starting to creep into cities that didn't necessarily have, but they're all in the name of protesters, right? Your cities are going to start to look like a war zone with tolerance and lack of leadership everywhere. So we'll just I'll give you a little bit of her remarks on that, and then we will wrap out this stream. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. I thought I had a question. I think we still could do that. The sustainability question that I put on yesterday, but I'll take you over here. Thank you guys so much. I do apologize for having to break up this particular this Wednesday segment of Black Spring, but thank you guys so much for joining me.
Looking to seek additional witnesses to help out with this case. We believe that there's individuals out in the community and out in the crowd who know the shooters. They know who did this incident. We're imploring, we're really seeking, please, to help the detectives with this investigation. This can't happen. You can't drive down the street and indiscriminately shoot into a crowd of people and then flee the scene and make good your escape. We know that the information is out there. The detectives want to arrest these individuals and bring them to justice. So we're seeking the community cooperation to assist us in this investigation and remove these offenders from the street. Unfortunately, as the superintendent mentioned, not long after this, another 3-year-old child was shot in the head. And thankfully, that child is in stable condition and talking. But in that incident, mother and father are out. It was late at night and the child's in the seat, and they are at a gas station where an altercation occurs. And at which point, when the father's driving away, shots are fired into the vehicle, striking the child. At this point, the detectives have a long way to go in their investigation, and we're trying to get some more information on the mother and father. At this time, we don't have all the information that we need, trying to gain more cooperation from them, what they were doing in that area, why they were out at that time, and what exactly occurred. So that investigation is ongoing as well. So once again, I know that the community doesn't want this violence in the communities, and we're asking for the people to provide us with the information, allow us to build a case to move forward. So at that, I'm going to turn it back over to the superintendent.
So let me start by just talking about what the violence really is involving. There are over 117,000 gang members in the city of Chicago. 117,000 gang members in the city of Chicago. That's not bad enough. They're broken down into 55 major gangs, broken down into 747 factions of those 55 major gangs. And those 747 factions are broken down into 2,500 subsets of those factions. I'm gonna say that again real slow. 117,000 gang members in the city of Chicago, 55 major gangs account for that 117,000, 747 factions, and 2,500 subsets of those factions. And any day of the week, any hour of the day, several hundred gang conflicts related to that 117,000 gang members. The details of the drive-by shooting that took place during the funeral at the Auburn Gresham neighborhood are already widely known, as Chief of Detectives Brendan Deanahan just mentioned. The victims range from good to serious condition. These victims were all wounded when shots were fired as family members and friends gathered to grieve the loss of a loved one who was killed in a drive-by shooting. As was mentioned, 6 hours later, a 3-year-old was traveling with her parents when their vehicle was fired upon by 2 men standing on the corner. The child was in good condition. She was shot in the head. Neither parent was injured. And I can't express this enough. My deepest condolences go out to all of these victims of the shooting. The cycle of violence in Chicago: someone gets shot, which prompts someone else to pick up a gun. This same cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. This cycle is fueled by street gangs, guns, and drugs. In the case of the funeral shooting, rival factions repeated this cycle. Too many people in Chicago have been touched by gun violence. And the response too often is picking up a gun to seek vengeance. There is no comfort in revenge. None. Put your guns down. It's destroying our families and perpetuates this endless cycle of gunshot victims night after night. A bullet for a bullet is killing these families, these neighborhoods. These bullets are shot in anger, fear, desperation. These bullets sent more than a dozen people to the hospital last night and a 3-year-old to the hospital just hours later. The impact of these bullets goes beyond pain and grief. These bullets are destroying our sense of safety in our neighborhoods.
All right. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there you have your presser with Lightfoot. Looks like a commissioner, maybe an alderman, a few people there. I will provide that link in the stream for you if you were interested in watching that beyond, but it's kind of a lengthy one. I just want you to get an idea of, I guess, where they have been and where they're going. It's not easy. It's not hard to tell that that the violence will only continue if it's not answered or met with any type of, if it's not met. And I'd like to thank everybody for rejoining me on today's stream. Shout out to, I'm going to do a final shout out here, and I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys so much for coming in. Shout out to Keith the Faith. And by the way, I will be checking out your guys's, I've started to take a look at some of your guys's channels, and I found out that I wasn't subscribed to some of your channels. So I will be doing that today. If you have videos or whatnot, I'll probably be commenting on those videos as well. So I like to try to reciprocate and see what's happening on your guys' channel. So if you guys have anything that's coming up, if you have anything that's coming up, I will be happy to announce that at this time as well. So we have a few people in here. Of course, great content creators and loyal subscribers and loyal patrons alike. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Keith the Faith. Who else is still here? It's hard to believe it's been 53 minutes already. So shout out to Cold War Jesus. Thank you so much. Shout out to Alien Believers. Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to Michael Haynes. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you guys for doing your due diligence on your check-ins by hitting that like button or the unlike, the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the whole bit. And also just remember, even if I don't he says I don't make videos. Maybe I should. That's cool. But I really appreciate you guys for coming in. But I do check out your guys' channels, and appreciate you guys for coming on here. Thank you, Alien Believers. So yeah, if I'm not subscribed, I'm sure I will end up being subscribed to your channel. So if I'm not, don't take it personally. It just somehow got past me. But I really appreciate you guys. And if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and wrap out the stream. Thank you so much, Old Head Deuce. Also, I Since I changed some things, my email address is, it used to be in the channel art, but I changed that and it's not in there anymore. I'm going to be doing some updates, but I also I used to at least provide my email address because sometimes people want to send things. So I'll put that back in the stream as well. Just put that back in the stream, and then I'll be updating my channel, updating a lot of things, and then some other things will be coming to the channel. I have some guests that are going to be coming in, and then some training and some other things that will be exclusively available to you guys here, the loyal subscribers and patrons on Black Spring with Autumn. So you guys have a good rest of the hump day. I don't know if that's cool to say anymore. Probably not, but I don't care. This is Black Spring with Autumn. And so I appreciate you guys for coming on and taking the time and spending the time on your Wednesday. So you guys have a great rest of the day, and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. If not another stream this week, maybe even on a moonlight stream. And I'll see you guys around.